Okay. Welcome to What's Niggling Me. Here with my brother Rye. He's awake. And I'm gonna have my brother look up The Witness Tree. Look that book up and tell me if you can find a physical copy and how much it costs. The Witness Tree.
By Denise Weimer.
Ooh, let me tell you first real quick. The Witness Tree is by Brendan Howley and John J. Loftus. Published at Random House of Canada on 4/20. Make sure we're filming. Yeah. What are you seeing, right?
Kindle edition.
Physical copy.
It doesn't let you buy it on Amazon.
You can't find a price on Amazon?
It doesn't show one for physical copy.
I found a price for it on there.
Really?
Yeah.
It shows in the
I even had my mom look it up and she couldn't believe how much it cost.
$4,500.
$4,492.99 to buy that book.
Yeah, it doesn't show me when I actually click on it, but it shows me under it on Google.
That's how bad they don't want you to read that book. You can't find a physical copy in the world right now, except for on Amazon for $4,500. That's how bad they don't want you to read that book. You know why?
Why, John Loftus?
Because it interweaves years of classified research by co-author and Nazi war crimes investigator John Loftus with a perilous love story. The result is a sweeping novel of a diplomatic dynasty born in the hope and treachery that defined the 20th century. It's because it comes from Eleanor Dulles, the sister of former CIA director, who she blamed both of her brothers, the Dulles brothers, on her husband's suicide because he was a Jewish guy.
I just was hearing about the Dulles brothers.
Yeah, they're pieces of shit. You know, my mom doesn't know about the Dulles brothers at all. I tried to explain. I had her read it, like the synopsis there, and she's like, oh, there's an airport named after them. I'm like, I know. I laughed. I'm like, I know. That's the former CIA director that JFK fired the year before his death. His brother worked with the Nazis. So when their sister decided to marry a Jewish guy, they were very opposed. And she said she blamed both of them for... I bet you it's not a suicide, but apparently he took his life. And she hated her brothers. Yeah, it says Eleanor Dulles comes from one of the most respected families in America. Yeah, that's a propaganda fucking fairy tale that they were the most respected families in America. They were pieces of shit. An economist and socialist, she is the family rebel and its last hope for salvation. Her affair with a mysterious younger man leads them into fateful brushes with the Zionist underground in the Soviet Comintern. Maybe that's what that word is. Eleanor comes to understand her family's connections to the treasonous Second World War oil business and the unlikely lovers are led separately from war-torn Europe toward the doorstep of Nelson Rockefeller himself, with profound implications for the future of the Middle East. For some reason, that book is $4,500. So I'm gonna buy. So, huh?
You don't think it was a misprint?
Nope. They do that for books that you don't. There's tons of books out there that are hundreds of dollars that aren't supposed to be because they don't want you reading them. This is the most expensive book I found though. There's books sometimes that'll be $1,000 and shit to try and keep you from buying them, but this one, $4,500. They do not want you reading that. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna buy the. You can buy it for like Apple Books or whatever. And I'm gonna audiobook it. I'll read those 464 fucking pages of it and make a digital copy of it. I'll share the story that clearly Zionists don't want us to read. It's trippy that it was published here in Canada.
When?
2007, I believe. Okay, let me tell you about a clean break, right? You know about a clean break?
Of the leg?
Huh?
Of your leg?
No. A new strategy for securing the realm.
I don't know what that means.
It was a policy document, just like, remember I was telling you the JFK ones, right? This document was prepared in 1996 by a study group led by Richard Pearl for Bibi Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. The report explained a new approach to solving Israel's security problems in the Middle East with an emphasis on Western values. It has since been criticized for advocating an aggressive new policy, including the removal of Saddam Hussein from power in Iraq and the containment of Syria by engaging in proxy warfare and highlighting its possession of weapons of mass destruction. Huh. Eh? 1996. 1996. Now it gets more interesting. In the contents here, it says, while there are those who will counsel continuity, Israel has the opportunity to make a clean break. It can forge a peace process and strategy based on an entirely new intellectual foundation, one that restores strategic initiative and provides the nation the room to engage every possible energy on rebuilding Zionism, the starting point of which must be economic reform. Okay? The introduction specifically proposes 3 new policies. Rather than pursuing a comprehensive peace with the Arab world, Israel should work jointly with Jordan and Turkey to contain, destabilize, and roll back those entities that are threats to all 3. Changing the nature of relations with the Palestinians, specifically reserving the right of hot pursuit anywhere within Palestinian territory, as well as attempting to promote alternatives to Arafat's leadership. He was the leader of the Hamas is like, say Hamas is Republicans. Arafat was the leader of the PLO. The, like, say, Democrats. And Bibi Netanyahu wanted Hamas, and so he backed Hamas and against the PLO, against Arafat's leadership. And then 3 would be changing relations with the United States, stressing self-reliance and strategic cooperation. A hot pursuit, that in number 2 there, like changing the nature of relations with the Palestinians, specifically reserving the right of hot pursuit, means that they can just go into Palestine, like, just like basically a no warrant SWAT team. That's the game. That was the game, like the plan. A hot pursuit is like no warrant SWAT team. We can just fucking fly through Palestine and just barge through doors. Fucking, there's no rules apply. We believe somebody's in this house or in this building. We're fucking storming it. It says, while the previous government and many abroad may emphasize land for peace, which placed Israel in the position of cultural, economic, political, diplomatic, and military retreat, the new government can promote Western values and traditions. Such an approach will be well received in the United States, includes peace for peace, peace through strength and self-reliance, the balance of power. Now, remember, this is 1996. And it says you got to secure the northern border. Syria challenges Israel on Lebanese soil, an effective approach, and one with which American can sympathize, would be if Israel seized the strategic initiative along its borders by engaging Hezbollah, Syria, and Iran. Doesn't that seem like that was going on in 2024?
Yeah.
Alright, give me a minute here. It says it is both natural and moral that Israel abandon the slogan comprehensive peace and move to contain Syria, drawing attention to its weapons of mass destruction programs and rejecting land for peace deals on the Golan Heights.
This is like a playground.
It says Israel can shape its strategic environment in cooperation with Turkey and Jordan by weakening, containing, and even rolling back Syria. This effort can focus on removing Saddam Hussein from power in Iraq, an important Israeli strategic objective in its own right, as a means of foiling Syria's regional ambitions. Remember, 1996. Since Iraq's future could affect the strategic balance in the Middle East profoundly, it would be understandable that Israel has an interest in supporting the Hashemites in their effort to redefine Iraq, including such measures as visiting Jordan as the first official state visit, even before a visit to the United States of the Netanyahu government, supporting King Hussein. He was the king of Jordan at that time. By providing him with some tangible security measures to protect his regime against Syrian subversion. And guess what? The Prince of Jordan's wife is in Epstein's Black Book. I remember seeing it. And I remember she has 2 addresses in there. And one is in Trump Tower. Once I get that computer and I get a TV here, I'm going to be pulling up addresses of all the people in Epstein's Black Book. All 1,921 of them. I saw some unbelievably beautiful fucking places that some of these rich ass people fucking lived in. And I'm even going to try and call some of their phone numbers.
Yeah?
Yep, they got tons of phone numbers on there. We'll see if I can get any. Israel has a chance to forge a new relationship between itself and the Palestinians. First and foremost, Israel's efforts to secure its streets may require hot pursuit into Palestinian-controlled areas a justifiable practice with which which Americans can sympathize.
Fucked.
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. Israel's new agenda can signal a clean break by abandoning a policy which assumed exhaustion and allowed strategic retreat by reestablishing the principle of preemption. So when I looked up the principle of preemption, it means you go on the offense.
You start killing.
You go on the offense. Rather than retaliation alone, and by ceasing to absorb blows to the nation without response, Israel's new strategic agenda can shape the regional environment in ways that grant Israel the room to refocus its energies back to where they are most needed, to rejuvenate its national idea, which can only come through replacing Israel's socialist foundations with a more sound footing, and to overcome its exhaustion, which threatens the survival of the nation. It says Israel will no longer simply manage the Arab-Israeli conflict. It will transcend it. Okay. So here, to proper Syria challenges Israel on Lebanese soil. They call for striking Syrian military targets in Lebanon, and should that prove insufficient, striking at selected targets in Syria. So this guy, it says John Dizzard claimed there is evidence in the clean break document of Ahmad Shalabi's involvement. Shalabi, an Iraqi politician, was an ardent opponent of Saddam Hussein. In this section on Iraq and the necessity of removing Saddam Hussein, there was telltale intelligence from Shalabi and his old Jordanian Hashemite patron, Prince Hassan. The predominantly Shia population of southern Lebanon has been tied for centuries to the Shia leadership in Najaf, Iraq, rather than Iran. Were the Hashemites to control Iraq, they could use their influence over Najaf to help Israel wean the South Lebanese Shia away from Hezbollah, Iran, and Syria. Shia retain strong ties to the Hashemites. Of course, the Shia with strong ties to the Hashemites was the family of Ahmad Shalabi. Pearl Fife and other contributors to the clean break seem not to recall the 15-year fatwa the clerics of Najaf proclaimed against the Iraqi Hashemites. Pearl and his colleagues were here proposing the complete restructuring of a region whose history and religion their suggestions reveal know hardly anything about. So these guys were just fucking around in the Middle East.
Legit fucking
But I clicked this one guy, this Shalabi guy, okay? So the United States, like they do, were backing Saddam Hussein's opposition. Where's that fucking guy's name? Ahmad Chalabi. This is crazy that the United States wanted this guy to be in, okay? Because it says as of right now, he is believed to be an Iranian agent and having close ties with Iran. That's how he ended up dying with that claim. But, in 2005, not 2006, he was initially a CIA-backed operative who later fell out of favor with U.S. Special Forces. In the lead up to the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the Iraqi National Congress, with the assistance of lobbying powerhouse BKSH and Associates, provided a major portion of the information on which the Office of Special Plans based its condemnation of the Iraqi President Saddam Hussein, including reports of weapons of mass destruction and alleged ties to Al-Qaeda. Most, if not all, of this information has turned out to be false, and Shalabi has been called a fabricator. They backed this guy. Well, he lied to them. And then this guy gets this guy gets jobs. This guy gets jobs.
Sounds like.
Bro, this guy became a beast. This guy got so much money. It says, so in this guy's life, he was a bold and shrewd investor amassing a fortune of over $100 million. He was accused of corruption many times. He founded Petrobank in Jordan with Crown Prince Hassan, the king's brother. That bank failed.
Impressive job.
He convinced the United States that come over here and bomb. You can come over here and take out Saddam Hussein. He's got weapons of mass destruction, and then I'll be the president.
Straight up.
So the United States just said, "Hey, we got all information from this guy, and he was wrong." We blamed it all on a guy who wanted to take his seat. This guy, Ephraim Inbar, he's an Israeli professor. Bar-Ilan University. I'm pretty sure he's the one that came up with mowing the lawn.
Mowing the lawn?
Yeah. Mowing the grass in Gaza. The website is jstor.org. The authors, Ephraim Inbar and Etienne Shamir. In 2014, it's called Mowing the Grass in Gaza.
Good read.
Ooh. We'll see if it will let me read it. Okay. It's a metaphor used to describe the strategy used by Israel against Palestinian militants in the Gaza Strip. The term was coined by Ephraim Inbar and Etienne Shamir. These are usually carried out by conducting short, sharp military operations to maintain a certain level of control over the area without committing to a long-term political solution, similar to how one would mow the lawn to keep it neat and tidy.
Interesting.
Hamas left Israel's government no choice but to order the Israel Defense Force, the IDF there, to start a land incursion.
So,
They gotta keep it neat and tidy. They gotta mow the grass. Where am I? Did I lose my tab? What the fuck? You know Shalabi? The guy who the CIA backed?
Shalabi?
Yeah, Shalabi. The CIA backed him to take over Saddam Hussein's spot. Got their false intelligence from them. The guy I was just telling you about. He attended the 2006 Bilderberg conference in Ottawa.
Surprise.
Yeah, I wonder if Mark Carney was there. Said, man, that information wasn't right. They didn't have weapons of mass destruction.
Bunch of queers.
Isn't it weird that the clean break was to fuck up Iraq and Syria, and that's what they did?
Yeah, exactly what they did.
They planned it in 1996. And they said we gotta go fuck them up in Lebanon too. And what did they do last year? They went and fucking blew those pagers off. They set those pagers off, and then boom, they went into Lebanon. Fought Hezbollah.
To do what they hate, and they predicted this
1996.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 29 years ago, fucking Richard Pearl and the study. So, and the study group, bro. You know the study group? I was telling you about the study group, remember?
I think that's why it sounds familiar.
The mega group, they make it the study group now.
Yeah.
It's so and you ever hear that so here's one that I hear often is that they created the Black Panther so that they could flood the internet with the movie Black Panther to get rid of the search results of the Black Panthers from the 60s, so that later in history it won't be remembered. You ever hear that they come up, they make they'll put out an I don't even know what's a bad event. What's an event they'd like to hide? I don't even know. Yeah, that's a hard, like, I tried to think of that one. That's a harder one because like they had 911 before that, but I don't know. I can't think of one off the top of my head. But they'll put out, yeah, like they'll come out with something to take over the meaning of something from the past. Yeah, so the study group, I see they're always going to have a hard time. It's always going to get hard to find that. That's why I want to, like, even do any of this, is to record it. And as they try to remove history that is not kind to certain people, we have to keep it alive.
Makes sense.
There is a mega group, and it's not the mega group like that I want. An informal group of influential Jewish entrepreneurs involved in Jewish affairs.
What?
Huh? That's what they are. That's what the group is. It's a pro-Israel lobby group.
Well, that's no surprise.
And that's the one that I said, yeah, Steven Spielberg was a part of. Gotta have your toes and everything. Now let me find the one thing I was telling you about yesterday so I can get that person's actual name. So that MIA singer, she's got a kid with one of those Bronfmans. I just can't think of what his first name is. Maybe Steven, but no, maybe not. Okay, so this guy goes by Benjamin Brewer, but that's not his real last name. That's a lie. That's so funny that Benjamin Brewer is really Benjamin Bronfman. I know that, and it's a lie. And he actually looks more Middle Eastern, but I think it's because maybe his mommy's black. No. So it's Benjamin Bronfman has a kid with MIA. I know the family hated that. I know the family hated that. But he was involved in the music business. He's involved in lots of stuff. He's involved in fucking climate change stuff.
Oh, jeez.
Mm-hmm. This guy's involved in a lot of tech and stuff. He's not old, so like this guy's gonna be around for a long time to pay attention to. 42 years old.
That's actually really young.
Edgar Bronfman Jr. is his dad. And he is, in my opinion, one of the people Kanye West hates and was calling out a long time ago. This guy is not to be trusted, in my opinion. He just seems like the shadiest person. Every time I read things about him and watch anything about him, this guy wants to impress his daddy. This guy wants to
Leave a name.
prove to his
Keep the legacy on.
prove to his daddy that because he's a junior. And Edgar Senior is the one that started the mega group with Les Wexner. And his grandson has a kid with MIA. She's very outspoken about the Palestinians. I know this vast. There's so many Bronfmans, bro. This rich Jewish family with so much power and influence. And they gotta find the one. One of these is Justin Trudeau's backer. There's so many of them. And it's not Edgar. And you know what? And one of those older ones probably backed Justin Trudeau's dad back in the day. Stephen Bronfman. Justin Trudeau's buddy.
Says it all.
Claudine and Stephen Bronfman have donated over $100 million here. What does it say? No, I can't get onto this article, eh? Paywalls. Climate. All about climate, these fucking people. Maybe that's why our country loves climate. And then oh man, Mark Carney, you can get out of here. I hate that guy.
It's gonna be a sad day if he gets in.
It'll make me more determined to save and get out of here. Accumulate as much money as possible and find a better country to live in. Because I can't even imagine the shit show of policies that'll be passed. I can't even imagine the dumb things that will be passed in the next years to come. I couldn't, and if I ever have a kid, I will never raise it here.
Yeah, it's dangerous here.
I would never put my kid in a fucking school here. These schools are fucking jokes. Canadian schools are fucking jokes. Never would I put my kid in that fucking piece of shit. The education system here is garbage. The indoctrination center, no thank you. I can't believe we have a bunch of snow. This fucking climate change, eh? Fucking climate change.
Yeah. Climate change.
I'm gonna try and figure out how long it took for the Chinese or the black people, that the African people that merged, that made it their way to China and then eventually became white somehow. I'm gonna try and figure it out.
I'm not gonna find it. Doesn't make sense.
I know it doesn't make sense.
They screw all different features on their face.
We were just told that's how it works, right? Is that just what we were just told? Hey, this is how it works.
I don't remember. I don't even remember asking.
I know, like, I don't even know. Like, everyone's came from Africa. Since we went to a Catholic school, it was always super confusing because either the world is only 6,000 years old, or if it's billions of years old, it's so confusing. Depends if we're gonna go by the Bible, right, or we're just gonna throw it out the window and use some logic and say it's impossible that the Earth's only 6,000. Adam and Eve's only 6,000 years old. That's stupid. It's impossible now. The Adam and Eve story is gone. Anything we learned in school that had to do with religion, like, and history doesn't make any sense anymore, because they've already proved that there were civilized. There was people like in Turkey over 10,000 years ago. So it doesn't make any sense. The Bible's history is already gone. So, but apparently,
It's always stupid to me.
it doesn't make any sense. Like, I can't take that seriously, that any of the religion are, we can base our history on that. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense.
So big though.
It's huge. That's why we have these issues of colonization, of people that believe that this is our land.
This is our land.
This is our land. God gave
God
this
promised.
land. God gave this land to us.
He promised it to us.
And then there's like to believe that there's going to be a second coming of Jesus for the last 2,000 plus years is fucking nuts. Or maybe not even. I think he died like at 30 years old or something. So it's not even 2,000 years yet that he's been dead. Pretty close. And
What, you think he's supposed to do? What? Come back as a person?
I don't. I'm not. I don't know it word for word or anything, but they believe he's coming again. I've been hearing that for my whole life. It's in their prayers or whatever, their things. In their things they like read off, or they say.
Is he coming back to fucking Israel?
Yeah, I think at the Mount of Olives.
Oh, where fucking Ghislaine Maxwell's dad's buried?
Yeah. Or they found apparently they found where he was buried not that long ago, I think. It's outside I think it's out, Jesus. It's outside the city of
Oh, he rose to heaven.
he moved the rock, right? Wasn't he buried, and like they had put a big rock in front of the thing, and then he was gone, right? When they moved the rock again. I'm pretty sure that's the story there. And apparently he's gonna come again, but this has something, this is crazy. I don't know if you've seen the South Park before, but it has something to do with, I think, I'm not 100%. It has something to do with a red heifer.
Oh, what?
It has something to do with a cow. I gotta Google it real quick, just because I don't know.
Please, I don't understand. It's a red heifer.
I think.
A fat redhead.
I don't even know. It's all super confusing. This says pbs.org. Oh, this is long. Jesus. I'm not like what? That's way too much for me to be reading. And MessianicBible.com. God's word states that only the red heifer can restore the biblical purity needed to rebuild the temple. It's a bunch of confusing, it's a bunch of literature, it's a bunch of stories that people believe in.
It's hard to believe for me.
I'm going to go out on a limb and I'll just make it up, okay? I think they get a red cow and they sacrifice it and he comes again. I don't know, but I don't know much more behind it. All I know is they think there's some kind of thing, bro. There's a lot of people that think there's some kind of second coming.
Well, I see it in the comments all the time.
How many people
like, oh, this, and they'll be like,
believe in a second coming?
This is a sign. This is a sign that Jesus is coming soon. Like, oh my god.
Google says this. About 4 in 10 U.S. adults believe humanity is living in the end times.
What's the end times? End of the earth?
Yeah, the end of mankind. This 2010 study, but I'm curious to know now is way different than 2010. We live in a totally different time than 2010. But in 2010, it said about 40% of Americans believe that Jesus is likely to return by 2050. just reading that makes me laugh. 2022, 39% of U.S. citizens believe we are living in the end times. Now, I want to know how many people believe he's actually coming again, because that's just crazy to believe. Just like what the Dalai Lama, I think they believe that like a person's born and then they become the new Dalai Lama, and then another person's born, they become the next Dalai Lama. They're just it's one person living through all these people.
Yeah.
Just fucking insane stuff in the time we live in with technology and science, and just like people are believing like some of the craziest shit. And if you want to believe it, go ahead. I don't give a fuck. You're not going to convince me. I can't just believe it with zero facts.
To 10 years of religion and still don't believe it.
Nobody wants to do another study because everyone just keeps referencing the 2010 Pew Research Center study. That's constantly, that's the only thing here that I see. A second coming. You know how insane that sounds to me? A second coming of Jesus. I'm gonna look more into it. You know what? I'll put it in my notes. I want to know what like the main belief is, because I'm sure there's a bunch of beliefs of how he can come back and save us, and and I want to know what what's the top beliefs.
Over under the best one.
Yeah, main belief about Jesus coming back. Jesus. And how realistic that story actually sounds in today's world.
Probably some woman's gonna get pregnant without having sex.
Huh? Oh yeah, like you know what I mean? Like it's just a bunch of nonsense. It's just a bunch of nonsense to me. To me. And it's it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, look at this. And all these different gods and these different religions.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm learning more about it than ever.
Okay.
Because it doesn't make any sense. But I'm so curious why these people believe these things. How did they make, like, how did these insane ideas still continue to make it? Because they had insane ideas before that are not allowed anymore. There's a lot of insane ideas that people along the way was the main belief, and then they're like, whoa, 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 we can't be doing that anymore. We can't be putting collars, like fucking iron collars around people's necks and having chains attached to them, and then attached to the person behind them with their collar. We can't be doing that anymore. But for a long time, they believed that was good to go. These people are not the same type of humans we are. That was a main belief, and that's not allowed anymore.
Pretty cool if it was, though.
But they believe Jesus is going to rise again. A lot of people believe that. And save us, I think. If there was an end times, bro, there's been millions and millions of people starving on this fucking planet for a long time. If that wasn't the end times, there's a time where there was a volcano that happened. I mean, that's obviously happened multiple times. Of a volcano that happened, and it covered the whole world. Like it fucked up. There was no light. There was no sunlight, and there was no crops for a year, and so many people starved to death. That wasn't the end times. Jesus couldn't come back and save fucking humans then. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense, you know. For every generation, you know, and say like the longest generation, maybe you live for 5 generations. You're born and you live through 5 generations. Fuck, he didn't come back the whole time I was here. You know, these people that live to 100, 120, they're like, fuck, he didn't come back the whole time. Fuck. And
what's worse than this?
And then 20 more people look like through your bloodline live, and still he never came back. They've been saying he's coming back. Look how many bad times we've had. There's been slaughters and beheadings and putting people up on crosses, rapes, tortures. But no, Jesus isn't coming back for yet. Like, what? How do you still believe? I'm pretty sure it looked like the end time to a lot of cultures.
Did he even come back during the Holocaust?
Didn't come back during the Holocaust. That wasn't bad enough, Jesus said.
Came back for them killing him.
All those people starving in the Soviet Union, Russia.
Not worth it.
Starving to death. Eating each other. It's not, Jesus said it. Sorry guys, it's not worth me coming back yet. I don't understand it. Make it make sense to me. Someone watch this video and make it make sense to me. How you can believe that Jesus is coming back. He doesn't feel like all the times in the past 2,000 years were bad enough. Dropping nuclear bombs on Japan wasn't bad enough. I don't know. Prove me, give me facts that Jesus is coming back to save us. From what? From what? He didn't save us from anything else. Follow, like, and subscribe and all that type of shit.